Hi guys, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, follow, and ring the bell. Hi guys! Pasensya, it's been a while na hindi ako nakapag-post kasi super busy talaga sa mga ginagawa sa buhay. So anyway, I'm glad may nag-message sa akin. Sa daming nag-message, pasensya talaga hindi ako naka-reply. Pero yung isa parang naka-touch sa akin kasi he wants to know ano daw ang pwede nating ma-share tungkol sa problema niya, sa doubt niya regarding the God's existence. Kasi nga daw, walang proof, rational proof ang existence ni God ayon sa Bible. Ang meron lang daw, simply empirical proof. At saka itong mga empirical proof, hindi daw solid proof to prove na there's really this God in the Bible. So, sasagutin natin yan. But we will have to play the video kasi shinare niya sa akin, okay?
The idea of the God of the Bible is an attack on rational thinking.
Anong attack of rational thinking ka dyan? It's not an attack of rational thinking. On the contrary, it is actually enhancing, improving, developing your rational thinking skills, your capability to think wisely. On the contrary, yung ginagawa niya, yung mga ganong klaseng tao kung mag-isip, they are the ones attacking their rational thinking because they stunt their rational capability to think wisely and better. Kung tutuusin, no, kung i-analyze mo yung God on the Bible, it will even make you smarter. Why? Because from there you will be challenged whether those statements na makikita doon sa Bible will contradict scientific evidences, mga philosophical arguments, which one is correct, the God, the Christian God, or the pagan gods, yung mga ganun. It will really sharpen your brain. Hindi attack of rational thinking, oy. But anyway, next statement niya ay,
When it comes to proving that God does not exist, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, do you know what a proof is? I mean, how could someone know if I proved that God doesn't exist if they don't know what a proof is in the first place? You see, most people, when they say prove it to me, don't actually mean prove it. What they mean is convince me or show me empirical evidence. Now, this is completely different from a rational proof. People are convinced of things that aren't true all the time. I mean, look at all the people that are convinced that the earth is flat. Holy fucking shit.
wow, kung kung ikaw nasa tanga nung mga panahon wala pang ganung mga satellite, iisipin mo bang the world is spherical? Siyempre may isip mo rin flat. Nako, itong Amerikano na to.
A deductive, rational proof, when its premises are true and it's used correctly, of course, results in 100% certainty. So let's look at a few examples to see the difference. Now, induction based on empirical evidence goes like this. Let's say that I observe 100 white swans. Then, because of my repeated observations, I conclude that all swans are white. Well, is my conclusion 100% certain? No, it only has a probability of being true. At any time, a black swan may come along and obliterate my conclusion, even though it had empirical evidence supporting it. In fact, this actually happened. People used to think, based on empirical evidence, that all swans were white, until black swans were discovered in Australia in 1697. So, in contrast, now let's look at an example of a rational deductive proof. Premise 1, all humans are mortal. Premise 2, Socrates is a human. Conclusion, therefore Socrates is mortal. Now, if it's true that all humans are mortal, and if it's true that Socrates is a human, then the conclusion that Socrates is mortal must be true. It's impossible for it to be false. It's 100% certain. Of course, for the conclusion to be true, the premises must also be true. So empirical evidence can only ever mean that something might be true, a probability of being true. It can never guarantee the truth of a conclusion, no matter what. Whereas a rational proof, if used correctly, of course, can deliver 100% guaranteed truth.
Hindi yata niya na-realize na yung rational proof, kailangan meron ding empirical proof. Huwag paghiwalayin. Kasi yung gusto niya, you have to choose from one and the other. But there are instances, there are situations wherein you have to use both. Why? Because without these empirical proofs, empirical evidences, wala kang basis for your rational proof. Puro ka imagination yung pagbigay ng deductive reasoning. Tulad sa halimbawa niya, sa example niya, Socrates are human and then all humans are mortal. E paano masasabing human si Socrates kung wala kang na-observe na siya ay human? E paano mo rin masasabing mortal si Socrates kung hindi mo man siya ma-observe? Tulad sa ginawa mong example sa swan. E syempre, meron kang na-observe na mga swans. So you can conclude na swans are white. However, it doesn't stop from there. Kasi kung mamimili ka sa dalawa, eh mas stop ka dun sa isa. See? So, kailangang dalawa, yung rational at saka yung empirical. Kasi nga, kung doon sa Bible, yung makikita mo yung mga experiences ng mga tao, anong basis? Yung history, yung facts. Doon nagbabase yung empirical evidences. And then, yung mga empirical evidences na yun, if you try to filter and try to analyze, it will result to a rational evidences or rational proof. See? So, hindi pwedeng mamimili ka lang sa dalawang proof. Kasi if ganun ang gagawin, yan yung attack of rational thinking. So sa kanya yun babalik, hindi sa atin, di ba? Kasi we try to analyze, we try to enhance our knowledge, our understanding to know if this God on the Bible really exists and if this is real. So based on empirical evidences and rational evidences, we come up with the truth. God on the Bible exists. Now punta tayo doon sa next niyang argument.
How do we prove that God does not exist? Well, first we have to identify what God are we talking about. Do we mean Zeus, Yahweh, Ra? Which one? We can't prove something doesn't exist if we don't know what we're referring to. Well, here we're specifically talking about the God of the Bible. Now, this God isn't just some abstract cosmic force. He has a personality and very specific attributes as laid out in the Bible. According to Orthodox Christianity, this God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-loving. To prove that this God doesn't exist, all we have to do is prove that he is not one or more of these attributes. And this is easily done. All we have to do is point out that God allows people to go to hell. Since God allows people to go to hell, this means either he is not all-loving, because no being of infinite love would allow souls to be tortured for all eternity. Or he is powerless to stop this from happening, in which case he is not all-powerful, or he doesn't know that they're going to hell, in which case he's not all-knowing. No matter how you crack it, this absolutely obliterates the existence of the Orthodox fundamentalist Christian God. He just simply doesn't exist. He can't exist. It's an impossibility. It's a logical contradiction. His properties and actions result in a contradiction.
Well, let's go to basic catechism. Hell is not about love. It's about justice. He is all-loving to give justice to those who chose and those who love him. So it has nothing to deal with you saying that if he's all-loving, why would he allow all the souls to go to hell? Again, it's for justice, okay? Now, you said he's not all-powerful. Well, he's actually all-powerful to create hell. Isn't that obvious? And also, since he created hell, to do what you think that should be done would make God stupid if he'll do what you want. Why? Because why would he create hell and then we'll just save all the souls? What is it for? Again, it's for justice. And you know what? He is also all-powerful to control such power not to drag you right away to hell. See, he's giving you a chance. So, If God is not all powerful enough, because there's a hell and he can stop people. Well, he's not. God's not using a remote control like Kibuloy, the one here in the Philippines, to control people. God gave you freedom. It's your choice. Now we'll go to all knowing. God as all knowing is very obvious. Why? Because he's able to create hell. I don't. You know what? It makes me hard to think why you can't think that way. So he's all powerful to create hell. He's all knowing to create hell. He's all loving to give justice to those who chose him. And not someone like you who wants to destroy yourself to hell. So there's no contradiction, right? Now, let's go to the inquiry that God is all loving and he created hell. Don't forget, God created heaven. Okay? Don't forget, God created heaven. So hell, as defined by the church as the eternal separation from God. So if heaven is defined as something where there is an eternal happiness with God, so on the contrary, you will be somewhere where there is no happiness. And focusing on the definition itself, you will see that there is still freedom. You are free not to choose heaven. You're free not to choose to be with God. Then, therefore, you choose to be outside heaven, outside the place where God will provide those eternal happiness. But there's one thing, one more. There is this eternal fire because everything is sadness, everything is evil because good belongs to God. Common sense. See, clearly there's no contradiction. God is all loving. He created heaven. Don't forget there's heaven. Don't just keep thinking of hell. And then God is justice. He created hell. So God is not stupid to let you be part of heaven wherein he is all loving and you will be enjoying even though you will not choose him. Oh, that's stupidity. God is not stupid. You are. So, clear na tayo dyan, ha? Well, most probably until now you keep on insisting and believing what you believe because you don't know what we teach. So sometimes you have to learn from those from us as the source rather than you interpreting it yourself.
In the story of Noah, God drowns the entire world population except for Noah and his family because he's unhappy with their choices. So what kind of all-loving God that apparently wants everyone to have free will drowns every living thing on earth because he doesn't like their choices? Think about how many innocent lives would have been drowned. Children, babies, all the animals. Does that sound like an all-loving God? No, of course not. Wake up!
Yes, I'm still awake. Anyway, I'm very sleepy now, but I'll continue. Okay, speaking of Noah, there's a great advantage that we will get if we will choose our maker, our creator. What happened to Noah is another example that we can learn. If you choose to be with the light, because God is of course light, or go with the darkness, then you'll die. Now, you mentioned about innocent lives. Now, these are the two things that you need to understand carefully. Love and justice. Sometimes justice turns out to be like out of love. But do we realize that um because of love, that all loving God, he gave us an opportunity to choose him. Because if in the long run you will keep on denying your creator, then that will happen. It is also a good thing that you use that example, Noah. Have you checked what happened to the people? They don't want to believe, don't like the God of Noah, just like you. So you're really lucky you were not born during the time of Noah, because you'll be one of those might be bitten by a shark. Let me give you an analogy. Let's try to compare God and a business owner whose desire is to hire or to give employment to people who are jobless. Now, in order for you to be with the company as long as you can, you have to abide the rules and what the company wants. And here's an employee who doesn't want to follow your rules because he wants it his way. And are you not going to fire him? And now, what will you do if you ask Noah, let's say he's your supervisor, to do this and do that, obey this and obey that? And they will just simply laugh at Noah because they think Noah seems to be crazy and they haven't seen the boss and they want those commands directly from the boss. So, what would you feel? Are you not going to fire them? Is it insanity if you will fire them, knowing that your aim is to employ people? Of course not. So, and you might rebut, how about those innocent ones? And for the innocent, those people who were terminated because of their ill-mannered attitude, they keep on mocking the owner, your supervisor. Those kids, the children, didn't know what happened or what their parents did uh, during their employment period. And will you be responsible for that? Of course not, because your aim is to provide employment, but they're not following your rules. So it's plain and fair. Well, in a strictest sense, if you look at the situation, God is the owner. He create life. He gives life. So he will not be guilty if he'll take away life. If someone will die and it's because they got affected for like the flood, why would he be guilty? He's the owner. You can't be guilty if you break your own rules since you're the owner. So, well, you have no choice. You're a created being. He's a creator. Okay, bumangon na lang uli ako kasi nakakahangawit sa kamay yung hawak-hawak tapos nakahiga. So, pakinggan natin tong isang to para matapos na itong video at ma-share ko na and magpasalamat ako sa aking viewers. Okay? Oh, by the way, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Okay? Thank you so much sa mga tulong niyo po.
In fact, this God shares more in common with the definition of Satan than a loving God.
Ay, hala, wait. Sabi mo, contradictory. Sabi mo may mga contradiction. Kailan ba naging all-loving si Satan? Kailan ba naging all-powerful si Satan? At kailan ba nasasabi mong all... Ano siya isa? All? All-loving, all-powerful, at saka all-knowing si Satan? Ay, ikaw talaga, no? Sus, grabe. Bumabalik sa'yo.
If God is all-powerful, can he create a stone that is so heavy that he can't lift it? Well, if he can create it, then that means he's not all-powerful because he can't lift the stone. But if he can't create it, then he is also not all-powerful.
You know, that example is very common during my college life. Well, first you said, can he create what he cannot lift? What do you think of God? A stone lifter? He will not create something that he cannot lift. And he doesn't use hands to lift. Or he will use something else to lift. He has the power and these things will float. Even the sun, earth are floating. He's not using his hand. He's using his power. Well, only humans will create, or no, not the create, but will make something that they cannot lift. Only human, okay? Now, let's go to the second part. He cannot create. What he cannot lift means he's not all-powerful. Remember, why would he create something that he has to lift? He doesn't need to lift anything.
Remember, fundamentalist Christianity says that nothing is impossible for God.
Well, nothing is impossible does not imply or does not even include in its definition in its slightest form that nothing is impossible also refers to possibility of stupidity. Ikaw ha.
Can God create a triangle with internal angles that do not add up to 180 degrees?
Well, how did you know that he cannot? I know to us it sounds absurdity because no matter what we do, it will really turn out to be 180 degrees. But how did you know he cannot? Have you ever talked to him? Or you're just making your own conclusion without asking someone to give you an answer. I mean, without asking God to give an answer. And God will not answer you because that's a stupid question. You're just making him stupid. He's not. He's all-powerful and all-knowing.
Now, we could also come up with a similar but different question for non-Euclidean geometries, such as Riemannian geometries. But if this sounds a little too complicated, we can get even simpler by simply asking the question, could God make 2 plus 2 equal 5? Of course he can't. If it's not apparent to you why, just go back to the heavy stone example.
Hay nako. Remember what you said earlier on this video? I mean, those who have seen this video, have you noticed what he said earlier? This one.
It's actually pretty easy to prove that the God of the Bible doesn't exist. The problem is, are you smart enough to understand? Let's begin.
Now, who's smart enough to understand or who's stupid enough not to understand? Well, all may knowing, ang taong sasagot sa 2 plus 2 equals 5 ay yung taong, let's say, bobo or wala sa focus yung mind nila para sumagot ng 2 plus 2 equals 4. Kahit alam nila, yun. But to apply it sa God, I wonder, do you really know what all-knowing means? Tapos yung all-knowing sasagot ng 2 plus 2 equals 5? Ay, talaga?
Even God cannot break these rational mathematical laws.
Speaking of rationality, or speaking of that mathematical law, the law will not be made a law by its own. There must be a specific being who's responsible for designing or arranging that law in order for it to be a law, a rational mathematical law. As simple as that.
This means that God is restricted by them.
Number one, you're already presuming with all your imagination that God is restricted by such mathematical law. Number one, don't forget. No, this number two, don't forget. A law cannot become law by itself. It has to be a rational being to create a certain law. Okay? So now, if God is restricted, that means He's not all-knowing, but that's not the definition of all-knowing. Number three, don't provide answers in behalf of God. Okay? You're asking questions, you're throwing challenges, and you're the one answering it. It's not God. So, stop imagination, oy.
God is mathematical law.
Hay, lumabas din ang truth. Insane pala tong may tupak sa ulo pala tong taong to. When or how can be a law becomes a being, a creator, or a law that will create a law? Oh, can you choose another words? Ito yung advice ba sa mga maraming atheists, mga fundamentalist, mga practical atheist, ibang-iba pag atheist, tulad ng isang nakadebate ko na atheist daw siya. Why are you using the word God and define it in another way? That is not how God's being defined in the first place. Can you just make your own term instead of using the word God? That was my challenge to an old man sa plaza. Why are you using words that's not what it means originally?
But wait, if that's true, is this mathematical God conscious, and did he create the universe in 7 days and do everything else the Bible claims? No. Let me explain.
Mauna diha.
So, the principle of sufficient reason is a very important yet very simple law. The principle of sufficient reason simply means that for everything that exists, there must be and exist a rational explanation for how it can exist.
To answer how it can exist, if you really have this complete sanity, you should be able to think that it has to be an intellectual being, not an energy that cannot create order, cannot create beauty, and cannot create design.
A conscious, self-aware creator God, like the one described in the Bible, violates Occam's razor. Why is this? Because unconscious mathematics is all we need to generate the universe.
Parang may tupak tong tao to. Kasi para sa kanya, kung may sanity talaga to, complete sanity, how can it be that unconscious na, hindi self-aware, ang makapag-generate sa universe? Can't you imagine a universe is not made of chaos? Like, yung nagkabanggaan hanggat matamaan tayo. There's an order. Don't forget, mathematics itself is a very wonderful design. So it has to be a smart, self-conscious, and aware to create a certain mathematics. Kundi, anong re-resulta? Yun talaga lalabas. 2 plus 2 equals 5. Baka 2 plus 2 equals 30. O diba? Ganon. Ay nako, grabe ka.
What mathematics is ontologically, what it actually is frequency. It's energy. To be precise, it's sinusoidal waveforms. So mathematics is not abstract numbers on paper. They are living frequency patterns.
Ito siya ba, parang na-amaze talaga siya on how this micro thingy works. So, he's believing that somewhere in time, a certain thing were created out of this energy, these waveforms, whatever. Which reminds me of what's happening in Switzerland right now for many years. Yung gumagawa sila ng micro Big Bang. Di man lang nila ma-realize ba na sila, hindi mag-sink in sa utak nila ba na, hey, gumagawa tayo ng mga machines just for these ions to collide, and then it will be like a micro Big Bang, and then we'll find out if it will create matter, and then siguro from there mag-study nila, ay, nabuo ang tao, doon ang beginning ng tao. Eh, bakit nung Big Bang, let's consider Big Bang, may machines ba for it to cause Big Bang? Dahil walang machine doon sa panahon ng Big Bang, sakyan natin yung Big Bang, then a certain intelligent being must have caused Big Bang, and then the rest follows. Diba? And even though the rest follows, there's still an intelligent being for this certain, yung mga particles na galing sa Big Bang will become this and will become that with order, ganun. Tingnan mo nga yung tao. Now, going back, let's continue.
What this means is that reality is a myriad of mathematical minds all interacting with each other. And truly, that is all that exists. You aren't what you think you are. You see, you are an eternal system of living mathematical frequencies. You are a mathematical mind. And this world is the result of our collective frequencies according to the laws of ontological Fourier mathematics. This world is not physical at all.
Hi, nako. But anyway, thank you so much sa nag-question at saka yung pangalawa yung nag-share. Kasi at least we can help, di ba? We can just simply ignore or just say that, oh, those kind of reasoning are very nonsense. Well, actually, it has a lot of sense because it impact other people who thought that they are so smart. But then we found out that they are partly insane. And regarding sa God na mababasa natin sa Bible, I remember one priest told me that the Bible is like a pregnant woman. There are a lot of things to discover. When the child will grow, we can't really imagine what will happen. But surely there are a lot of things that will happen. So the existence of God is really a mystery, but it's a fact. So, pasalamat tayo kay God for sharing part of those the mystery of their existence, so that at least we will know who our Creator is, and then how are we going to respond to our Creator? Because it's a good thing that there was a promise that we will be with them soon. Sana ako din, sana, wish ko lang. Alright, so thank you again sa sender, sa nag-request. And I hope, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And soon I'll be creating more videos. But for now, may uunahin lang akong ginagawa. Tama ba yung Tagalog ko? But anyway, so balik na ako sa country at matulog. Bye!